All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, which brings us to our discussion slash topic this afternoon, okay? Falsely so-called science, all right? Because one thing we have to realize as coming into this truth and really taking on it is that we're going to have oppositions, falsely so-called science, okay? And in the world, we so much the more sought out those falsely so-called science, okay? And to the fact that we put that over this truth, all right? Because one, we didn't know who we were. So being in the world, we didn't know we was required in a certain way or fashion, should I say, to conduct ourselves, all right? And being in this worldly mindset, we chase the dollar, okay? And all to find out at the end of the quote unquote or proverbial rainbow, the goal is never there, all right? You can chase the end of that rainbow because you know the old saying, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I can remember as a young child trying to find the end of that rainbow to see if there was an actual pot of gold there. All right, but that's just a saying, man. But see, in this world, especially before coming into this truth, we have the notion that we can achieve that American dream, okay? That there's going to be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, all right? And Jake, err in doing so, all right? Jake err not knowing that there's no goal at the end of that rainbow, all right? And to the fact that they would refuse or shun or err from the faith, okay? Because why? They're too busy chasing a phantom dream, okay? This world wasn't made for us, all right? And we're going to get into it a little bit more explicit because coming to realization that you will never get ahead in this current system, this current society, because it's not set up for you to get ahead, okay? It's set up to give you just enough hope or faith to keep you engaged, to keep you from finding out who you are, all right? And it's all done by design, you see? And Paul wrote to Timothy, who was at the time the head of the church of Ephesus, and warned him about these things, okay? And they still hold true to this day. As it tells us in Romans 15:4, everything that was written aforetime was written for our learning. Okay, so there's no new thing under the sun. Just as our people back then sought fortune and fame and everything else, but some err from the faith, we got to take heed that we don't err from the faith, okay? Because there's nothing wrong, with if you want to play a scratch-off ticket here or a scratch-off ticket there, because the Bible speak about casting lots, all right? It's when you go and do it over, when you overdo it. And now you start to make gambling, and now you start to make, seeking this kingdom your number one priority, all right? And you put this truth aside, okay? Well, guess what? Paul had to write and tell Timothy, his young mentor, these things, okay? Because he was the head over the church of Ephesus, all right? And we're going to look into this a little bit in history, secular history, or should I say biblical history, because it's written in 1 Timothy, which Paul wrote to Timothy in about this same decree. So I typed in, what was the church of Ephesus known for that Paul needed to write to Timothy about, all right? And we're going to hit search. And it says, this is the AI overview. the church of Ephesus was known for facing challenges from false teachings and disputes about leadership and conduct. Paul's letters to Timothy, particularly 1 Timothy, which is where we're going to go into, address these issues, instructing Timothy on how to correct these problems and guide the church specifically. Paul wrote to Timothy about concerns regarding false teachers who were promoting speculatively doctrines, potentially influenced by pagan myths. We're going to go into one of those pagan myths, okay? We're going to go into one of them because that same pagan myth holds true to the day, okay? It says, in causing division within the church. Additionally, Paul addressed issues of leadership and the conduct of both men and women within the church. See, and the church is a body of people that make up, all right? And in this particular case, the body of people are Israelites, all right? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is truly indeed the church, not some building, all right? The church is not a building. The church is people, all right? Israelites. It says, causing within the division, let me go back up, and causing division within the church. Additionally, right here, additionally, Paul addressed issues of leadership and conduct of both men and women within the church, right? That's why certain scriptures tell the woman, if they learn anything, let them learn from their husband at home. And what's the scripture that says, I'm gonna roughly paraphrase it, I would have it that the woman keeps silence in church, okay? Roughly paraphrasing, all right? This is all sound doctrine that Paul wrote to Timothy to give him how to conduct the church of Ephesus. It says, emphasizing the importance of sound doctrine and godly behavior. Now it goes into a little bit more of a detailed breakdown on false teachings, and then it gives you scriptures. Acts 19:23-21. It says, Paul mentioned that some in the Ephesian church were promoting strange doctrines and endless genealogies, possibly related to pagan myths about the goddess Artemis, okay? Leadership disputes. It gives you 1 Timothy 1:3. Paul's letters also address concerns about unqualified or corrupt leaders within the church. Timothy 1:3. Conduct in the church, okay? Goes on to tell you Paul's instructions to Timothy included guidance on prayer, the roles of men and women, and the proper conduct of church members, right? And I was speaking on a little bit that how Paul was giving sound advice and sound doctrine to Timothy, telling him how women, if they was to learn anything, let them learn from their husbands at home. And he permits, or he doesn't want women to speak in church, man. All right, there's a time and place, okay? If a woman is to learn anything, let her learn in silence, okay? But you see, today's church, they claim to be Christians, which is followers of Christ, which we know they don't follow after Yahweh Shai. All right, they follow after precepts taught by men, okay? And then the last but not least, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, is wealth and arrogance, okay? In Ephesus, a city known for its wealth and commerce, Paul also addressed the issue of wealthy members becoming arrogant and putting their trust in material possessions instead of the Most High. 1 Timothy 6:17. So this is what we're going to harp on today, all right? Because this world isn't meant for us, all right? Although Jake sometimes can slip through the cracks and come up, in the long run, this world isn't built for us. It isn't made for us, all right? It's not set up for us to be prospering, all right? Yeah, you're going to have a Jake or two slide through the cracks and make it, but guess what? Even in their rise to the top, they still get pulled back down by the system, man. Because why? This system isn't built for us. For example, you may have an athlete that make it out of the hood and become a millionaire. But because he doesn't have a financial stronghold on money, he doesn't know how, or he doesn't know the odds and ends of the financial system. Okay? So he hires an agent, and the agent does what? Take him to the laundry, clean him out. Okay? Entertainment world. You may have a Jake or two that come up and make it in the entertainment world, but guess what? Since they don't have a sense of financial stability, they don't know that they got to pay their taxes. All right? Same thing today, man. You may have Jakes that's trying to achieve the American dream and invested in all type of endeavors, you know, in the attempt to live comfortably in this society, not knowing that this society, under this rulership, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, isn't designed for you to be comfortable. Okay? There's too much going on that you'll never be able to have the full story to. All right? And we're going to get a little bit of those terminologies. All right? Bank terminology, bonds terminologies. And this is why Jacob never fully prosper in this wicked society unless they sell out. Now, if they sell out, it's a different thing, okay? Because you got Jake that sell out all the time, man. But if you're trying to do right by the word and trying to come up in this society, those two don't go hand in hand, okay? You either got to pick one or the other, all right? Because you can spend your life chasing this American dream and never come to grasp with it that what? You'll never get that piece of the pie, all right? Because why? It isn't set up for you, all right? And this is what's bringing us into this new quote-unquote banking system, which is what? The mark of the beast, all right? You ain't going to get it here, and you damn sure ain't going to get it there, man, all right? But see, Jake in these last days think they coming up, but not knowing the system is set up for you to believe that. Because why? They're getting ready to transition over into a new fiat, or should I say digital currency, okay? That's why you think you coming up, because they're getting ready to do what? Away with the old and usher in the new. All right, so everything you feel like you coming up on is going to be put to the test. When are you going to, in order to maintain all your quote unquote wealth and financial blessings, how you look at it, take the mark of the beast? Because what are you going to do? How are you going to keep all that fiat money that you have right now in the bank? Because that's all it is. It's just numbers on a database. How are you going to keep that when they switch over to the new currency? Okay? Are you going to be willing? Are you truly going to be willing to let all that go? All that hard-earned money that you put time and effort into of obtaining it? And the answer is no for the most part. All right? Which is why a lot of our people are going to take that RFID microchip. All right? Because why? They invested their time, money, and effort into this system. And in order for them to reap the benefits of what they feel in their mind they labor so tediously for, they're going to have to take the RFID microchip. This is the play that's being set up, which is why this world isn't made for us, okay? And if you can't see it this close to the end, the Lord has blinded you, all right? And pray that he open your eyes so that you can see, all right? Because, hey, we're getting close to that time, all right? So if you believe that you still have time and you think that this world is going to continue to go on, examine yourselves, okay? 2 Corinthians 13:5, whether you be in the faith, because many have erred from the faith, all right? After what? That falsely so-called science. And we're going to look into a little of that falsely so-called science terminology, all right? So let's get 1 second to pull this up. All right, so I typed in banking terminology so we can get some of the falsely so-called science terminology, all right? And it goes into navigating the world of banking can sometimes feel like learning a new language, which it is, okay? See, this is why this isn't our rest, Jake, all right? Because this is a language that we need not to learn. Because why? In order for you to learn a new language, you have to really be invested in that language, okay? And by being invested, I mean give your time, your money, and resource to learning, all right? And by doing so, you're going to what? Err from the faith, because you got to be all the way in or all the way out to really learn a new language. It says navigating the world of banking can sometimes feel like learning a new language. To help you better understand the terms you'll encounter, here is a breakdown of common banking terminology. So this is just the common, the average, not going into the extensive language, but just the average Joe Smo Smill type of language. All right. Let's see and be honest with yourselves. How many of you know or knew these common bank terminologies? All right. So here's the list we're going to find and see. It says bank terms: APY, APR, automatic clearinghouse, available balance. How many of you actually know what these terminologies are and mean? Let's go up and see show more. Account, balance, deposit. A lot of us know what these are. This is why it's common terminology, all right? But in order for you to be proficient in a language, you have to know how to speak it extensively. Debit, everybody knows what debit. Credit to extent, interest, annual percent rate, APR, annual percentage yield, APY. Types of accounts: checking account, savings account. Everybody know what those two are. How many of you know what a money market account is? How many of you know what a certificate of deposit is and actually know how it works? Cards and payments, okay? And the list goes on, man. And you figure and ask yourself, in order to just be above water, to keep your head above water, you have to know majority of these common banking terms, okay? All right? In order to really try to thrive and strive in this man's society. All right? Now, the Lord isn't going to leave us out here to dry. So just knowing a few of these, such as having a savings account or a checkers account, could be proficient enough to what? Pay our bills and get our daily bread. All right? But when you go into trying to get APR back on your return, or APY, or so on and so forth, then you starting to what? Put yourself in a new category, or doing what they call too much, man. Okay? See? And that could be Jake's issue, or that could be Jake's fault at times, okay? I want to try to see if I can get back as much interest on my money sitting in the bank as I can. And the bank's only going to let you know or have and give you so much, man. Okay? You're going up against a system, a financial system that was designed to keep you in the dark, okay? Especially being so-called Black, Latino, and Native American, man. By the time we find out something, it's way too late, man. We for the most part, are always too late to the party, man. When we find out, it's because they've already exalted those resources, okay? Which is what Jake don't figure, or which is why Jake don't know or haven't figured that out yet, okay? You're only coming up because we're too late to the party, man. All right? The resources have been exalted already. The things we finding out right now, we should have knew prior to 2000, man. All right? Now they getting ready to bring in a new system, and they getting ready to do with the old system. So you coming up in the last days ain't going to do you no good, okay? Bank statement, routing number, overdraft protection, and the list goes on and on. Now here are some bank terms: APY, APR, automatic clearinghouse, available balance, certificate of deposit, debit card, assets, interest, bank statement. We know what a bank statement is. FDIC, how many of us know what FDIC is? It stands for Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and it guarantees that no matter what happens to the bank, your deposits are insured up to $250,000. See? And that's giving all things work according to how they want things to work. But if a crash or there's no money in the Federal Reserve, they're going to print more money to give you $250,000. But guess what? that 200, not give you $250,000, but to give you up to $250,000, meaning if you have $250,001 in the bank, you're not insured. But if you have under $250,000 and you lose your money because that bank goes belly up, you are insured, all right? But if such an incident happened and everyone that's holding money in the bank loses it all at one time, how are they going to pay you that money? They're going to have to print more money and in turn devalue that dollar. Whereas now if you had 10,000 in the bank, after they printing all the money to give everybody who lost that their money, their fair share, your 10,000 may only be worth 1,000, 1,000. You see? So there's so many odds, outs, and ends to this banking system that, hey, just stick to the faith, man. All right? Just stick to the faith. It goes accrued interest. Man, look at this language. Look at these languages, man. And ask yourself, who's behind this? We already know. See? They make it so damn difficult for you jakes to come up, man. They want you to be what? Good slaves. Just work and invest. Put your money into the bank. That's it. Go to work. Work your 9 to 5. Look forward to retiring in 40 years. Get your pension. Just the basic things. They don't want you to know all about this, man. Look at this terminology. We just in the A's. Adjustable rate. Amortization. Automatic funds transfer. I mean, come on, man. Who's supposed to be really equipped to know what a balloon payment is? And this is just the banking terminology. When you go into different assets, there's terminology for different assets. Let's give you an example. Let's go to bonds terminology. How many of you know what a current yield and how to capitalize off of that? How many of you know what maturity is? How many of you know what a basis point is? When they talk about that on MSNBC, the stock market has moved up 2 basis points, or the Feds are going to do something 2 basis points. A basis point, a numerical value equal to 1/100%, man. Come on, man. This damn devil has made banking so damn complicated and hard for a specific reason, man. To keep you Israelites from up out of it, man. Okay? And the few Israelites that have slipped through the cracks, guess what? They getting ready to come to an end. They getting ready to shut it down. So what you gonna do? You're gonna have to transition or transfer over to their new digital currency, which is gonna be backed by the RFID microchip. Okay? A coupon rate. Who knows what a coupon rate is? A issuer, a price, a yield to maturity. And there's many more terminology that we don't know, like ERC20, a type of bond, okay? Man, hey, what's the scripture? 1 Timothy 6 and 20 to 21? Avoid vain babblings, man. This shit is just vain babblings. Vain babblings, man, just to keep you dumbed down, man. See, when the United States of America moved from the gold standard and allowed this type of banking to come in, hey, it screwed up or effed up the game, man. Okay? Now you worked back then, prior to the gold standard being removed, back when Nixon was in office, you had physical currency that you could hold on to, which was gold and silver. See? But they took that away and they brought in this new banking system. All right? And now Jake has been forevermore trying to achieve that American dream, trying to receive that fortune, which goes into one of the goddesses. All right? The goddess of fortune, Fortuna. All right? Oh, let me get my money. You will have, specifically Jake woman, come up to you and give you $20 here or $30 here, and we quick to tell you You better take this so God don't stop my blessing. You see, they've associated money with who they believe to be God. And if he doesn't give them money, then God isn't dealing with them. See, they suppose gainliness is godliness. All right, prosperity. This is what Timothy was told to be warned of by Paul. Okay, these false doctrines, this false ideology. Okay, because a lot of these Israelites were under this arrogance that they prosper through what? A lot of these Greek mythology and Greek ideologies. Okay, matter of fact, let's just go there to that goddess of fortune. It says the goddess of fortune is Fortuna in Roman mythology and Tyche in Greek mythology. Both goddesses embody chance, luck, and prosperity. See? This is what they was preaching back then, and this is what they're preaching right now, man. Because why? America is just Rome all over again. Okay? So we've been taught and to take heed to the words to what? Understand that this society, this kingdom isn't set up for us, man. All right? But the kingdom to come is, okay? Where it's ran in righteousness. This kingdom isn't ran in righteousness. This kingdom under Esau, Edom is ran in deceit, deceitfulness, unrighteousness, and everything else, man. That's why you got Jake get stopped over trying to traffic $500,000 worth of illegal narcotics. But then you got Walgreens and CVS that's set up to where they can traffic on day millions worth of illegal, or should I say in their eyes, legal narcotics, and have nothing to do with it. See? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Or in this case, that's the pot calling the kettle black. All right? both the one that's getting stopped trafficking and the store that's selling trafficking are both doing the same thing. It's just that one has went through the quote unquote legal, process of obtaining their license, and they're recognized by the FDA so that they can what? Sell these, medicines. I got to be careful because they probably going to red flag this. But you get the point. It says the goddess of fortune is Fortuna in Roman mythology and Tyche in Greek mythology. Both goddesses embody chance, luck, and prosperity, but they are also associated with potential misfortune and the unpredictable nature of fate. Okay, so it goes into, it breaks down the Fortuna Roman. She is a Roman goddess of luck, fate, and fortune. She is often depicted with a cornucopia horn of plenty, symbolizing abundance and prosperity. Okay. As a matter of fact, we'll just see if we can get an image of her. And this is the goddess of fortune. Okay, that's her with the Capricornia, with the gold coins coming out. And this is the American dream, man. Chase the dollar. All right, chasing the dollar. This is her. This is who you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are chasing after. All right, the goddess of fortune. All right, and you're willing to risk your freedom in doing so. Trafficking, getting stopped, pulled over with $500,000 worth of illegal narcotics, you're gonna be locked up for a long time. See, but Jake's so trotted over, he willing to take that risk, man. Jake is willing to move that type of weight over state lines and risk federal time, man. For what? That fortune. Okay? This is why this society is so damn messed up, man. Okay? because of the goddess of fortune. All right, going back to the Roman Empire, man. Okay, there's nothing new under the sun. All right, so let's get a few precepts. Okay, this is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. It reads, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings. APY, APR, bias points, base points. We seen some of the terminology, okay? It says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called, right? Because they'll tell you there's a science behind this system, this banking system, and only bankers or people that's in that field or in that department can know that terminology. All right, you may have a cash teller, or I don't know if they still have them. They were prevalent back in the days where you have bank tellers. They knew a little bit something, but it was usually the higher up you go, the more you know of terminology. Like the regional bank manager, they knew more about terminology than their bank tellers or their cashiers, okay? But it's all the same, man. The system is flawed, okay? And then we got your average 9-to-5, work in a warehouse, work at a supermarket, that all they know is get up, go to work, take their check, deposit, put it into a bank account, put it into a savings, put it into check-ins. Because why? We can't hold gold no more. We can't hold silver anymore. You see? So what? We have to take these notes, these dollars, all right? Because that's basically where the money was transferred from gold to silver to a promissory note, all right? Which later turned into what? The legal tender that we have now, the $1, the $2, some $2, but it's hard to find, the $5, the 10, the 20, the 50, the 100, okay? And even way while back, they had a $500 and $1,000, okay? But now they doing away with what? The money system, okay? The penny is gone. They getting ready to do away with what? The dollars in general, okay? And they're going to bring in what? The new digital currency, all right? And you've been warned. Stay away from all of this, man, all right? Because guess what? This is where it's leading to. You receiving the RFID microchip, all right? And you've been warned. 1 Timothy 6 and 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. All right, this is what this banking system is, an opposition of science, falsely so called, because there's no real money behind this. Okay, it's all fiat, IOU, pretty much. Okay, look up the word fiat currency and see what it actually is. Okay, it's going to show you that what? It's just a promissory backed on the people's faith in this system. Okay, as long as the people believe this system is going to be around, that money holds value. But if the people stop believing in this system and something happens where they take all their money out, then the system crashes, man. And that's when they have the quote unquote FDIC, all right, to ensure people that have money in the bank under $250,000 that they can be what? They can be reimbursed. But in a fallen society, what good is the money if there's nothing backing it, such as gold and silver? It isn't. See? And then that's when they're going to introduce that RFID microchip. It says, verse 21, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. See? Some profess, meaning that, hey, they went after that falsely so-called science. They put that as their number one priority. And in doing so, they have erred from the faith. It says, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be with thee, Amen. So let's look at this in another translation, the NLT. It says, Timothy, guard what the Most High have entrusted to you. Avoid godless, foolish discussions with those who oppose you with their so-called knowledge. See? This is all this is. This banking system is just so-called knowledge. It's so scientifically rooted and founded. You can get your APR. You can move your money from this account to that account and get a greater return of interest on it, man. F all that shit, man, because you will never figure it out. All right? You'll never figure out this banking system, man. All right? You may get lucky here and there, come up. All right? But guess what? They'll find a way to what? Have you lose it all, okay? A bank crash, a bank run. All right? Something will happen, okay? That you'll never be able to plan for. All right? See, and we're telling you, we're warning you through the truth that, hey, avoid all falsely so-called science, man. All right, this banking system is falsely so-called science. It's pretty much a Ponzi scheme. Okay, it's only as good as the people that's involved believe it to be. Okay, as long as the people believe that the system is still functioning rather optimal to their level, the dollar is still good. It's to when the people no longer believes the system is valid that, hey, the scheme is over with, all right? And we're coming to that time. We in that time, all right? This dollar has seen its time. The people no longer entrust in the dollar. But to save faith, Trump is trying to back the dollar with a digital dollar, okay? And that's what stablecoin is, okay? It's going to allow other corporations to use the dollar, but in a digital platform. All right, so although the physical dollar may no longer be in circulation, the digital stablecoin dollar, USDC, whatever they want to call it, will be still acting as that dollar, but now it's going to give the people the sense of what? Having control over their own money, having the option to what? Shop around and use their dollar as what? Digital, and be their own banking, okay? Because with this stable coin, you're going to have the option, more than likely, to use not just your bank, but other corporations as banks, as tools, okay? This is to give the people the reassurance that the dollar is still, is still valuable, okay? Albeit in digital form, nevertheless, it's still the dollar, okay? And this is where they want you at, all right? This is why they gave us Bitcoin. This is why they haven't came up with the person behind Bitcoin to this day, all right? Because it's the government, man. It's the treasury, all right? They're not going to show you who it is because this has been the plan from the beginning to introduce the world to what? A digital currency. Because why? That's going to be on the RFID microchip. All right, so you've been warned, okay? And as it tells us in Ezra 8, this world was made for many, but the world to come for few, man. I believe that's 2 Ezra 8:1. All right? This world is made for many, but the world to come for few, okay? So guess what? Keep that which is what? Let's read it. It says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. This truth, this is committed to our trust, all right? Avoiding profane and vain babblings, banking terminology, the bonds terminology, the crypto terminology, all these vain babblings, man. Because at the end of the day, this shit is going to all be nothing, okay? None of this current money that you got is going to be valuable in the kingdom. You ain't going to take no goddamn dollar with an Edomite face into the kingdom. You ain't going to take no digital currency into the kingdom. All right, that's why it says, give us this day our daily bread, man. We just making it just to get by, just to get our daily bread. All right. Now, if you come up and you make it out of the so-called quote unquote slums and you pull yourself out of the barrel and you get money, that's good. And that's fine. All right. But as far as putting your hope and your faith into that money to last and to get you through, that ain't gonna get it, man. Because your money ain't gonna be worth nothing in Jacob's trouble. All right. Having your money, having, $1 million in the bank account, what good is that shit gonna do you in Jacob's trouble when they're not accepting dollars? Okay. What are you gonna do? You're gonna have to transfer that into what? The digital currency, the RFID microchip. And in doing so, you're gonna sell your soul, man. Mark 8:36. For what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? So let's say you understand now. You understand some of the vain babblings. Because this is all it is just confusion. All right? Babylon, babble, confusion. So let's say you was able to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and understand some of the vain babblings that's presented to you in this society. And you came up and you got an astonishing portfolio. You got money in the bond market. You got money in the stock market. You got money in the crypto industry. And now the markets are crashing and you're looking to cash out. And in order for you to receive your money and your payouts, you're going to have to come down to a chipping station and get this chip. What are you going to do? Are you thinking you're going to really be able to just let go all that time and effort you put into achieving all that? No, you're not. Unless the Lord dealing with you. It says, for what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So what did you give to understand that vain babbling? Okay. You went to school, you learned, you understood the terminology. You came up, you dedicated yourself, you forsake the truth to be all you can be in this man's society. Okay. Now you're a prominent figure in this institution, whether it's a bank, whether it's a hedge firm, whatever it is. Now you done came up. Now you making millions, 6 figures at least. Now you got a healthy, a robust portfolio. And what good is this going to do once all hell breaks loose and this place crashes? And you cash out right before it does. Now your bank, now your account has tripled in money. But now the only thing that you have to do is come get that chip in order to spend it. What are you going to do? So you got 600,000 before the crash, and after the crash, you was able to get 60 million. That's a lot of money, man. That's what they would call generational wealth. Now, how are you going to obtain that? They're going to tell you, well, in order for you to get this money, you can't spend it under the old system because now we have a new system and you have to have what? The RFID microchip. So now you got 60 million sitting in your account, but you can't spend it unless you take the chip. What are you going to do? It says, 37, or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? 38, whosoever therefore should be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. So are you ashamed of the Son and you're going to take that chip because you don't have no faith? Guess what? The Son, the only begotten Son, Yahushua, is going to be ashamed of you when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels, because you didn't have faith in him. You put your faith in this system, those 60 million that you came out on the other side with, and you didn't want to lose it. As it says in Luke 9:24, it says, whoso loses his life shall find it. And whoso, let me see if I can get that. I've already butchered it, so let me just go there. Luke 9:24, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. So here it is, you don't save your life because why? You done took the chip so you can keep your 60 million. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, when you had the opportunity to, I made it I got a healthy portfolio, but I ain't gonna compromise myself for 60 million. I'm gonna let it all go. See, you wasn't able to lose your life for who? Yahweh Shai's sake. It says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it, right? And this is how you confess the Lord, man. Lose your life. Give it up for Yahweh Shai's sake. And he's going to what? He's going to confess you in front of the Father and the holy angels. But if you find your life and not confess Yahweh Shai, guess what? He's not going to confess you. So every man's going to have their opportunity in that day when the RFID microchip is made mandatory to either confess Yahweh Shai and not take it, or don't confess Yahweh Shai and do take it. And if you take it, the Lord isn't going to confess you in front of the Father and the holy angels. All right? He's going to say, depart from me. I never knew you, you workers of iniquity. All right? So we coming down to crunch time, man. Okay? This is crunch time. And if you don't have a strong idea of what's getting ready to go down, you're gonna very much well fall victim to the prey, man. All right? If you can't see, vain babblings. 1 Timothy, let's look up that word vain babblings.
Strong's G 2757. Kanaphonia.
It goes into empty discussions, discussions of vain and useless matters. And man, this banking system is a useless matter. Even though you have extensive terminology, you know what APR, APY, basis point, and everything else to go along with it, especially in other markets like the stock market, the bond market. You know all that talk, shares and the rates of return, rates of interest. You know all that. That shit is vain in the eyes of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, because all that ain't gonna matter, man. Once the RFID microchip comes out, what good is that going to matter? All right? Empty discussions. Discussions of vain and useless matters. 1 Corinthians 14 and 19. Yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, that by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. Right, that's that vain babbling, okay? So what, you have an extensive language about the banking financial institute, but you ain't teaching the word of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. See? The Lord is going to disown you. He's going to spew you out of his mouth, man, because you made this world your God. All right? You became friends with this world, which is enmity against the Most High. So you have an extensive background in language in banking, or in crypto, or in stocks, or in bonds, or in Forex, or in anything else that doesn't have to do with this truth. So what? That doesn't mean anything, because it's all coming to an end. Where's your language? Where's your extensive language in this truth? Where's your teachings? Where's your prophesying at? Where's your preaching? See? Avoid vain babblings. Okay? So-called falsely science, man. It's just a Ponzi scheme. It says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings of oppositions of science falsely so called. Man, the banking system is just a Ponzi scheme, okay? Meant to lure unlearned or unwilling or unknowing suspects. You know, it's just meant to will in unknowingly individuals. Come on in. Welcome in. We in the last days. Get your LLC. See, it ain't just banking. It's anything. All right, because in anything you have to know the language. LLC, you have to know the language. Real estate, you have to know the language. Anything you are proficient in, you have to know the language. And according to the truth, it's all vain babblings, man. Now, you not saying that you don't have to, not saying that you can't know the language, but it's vain in the eyes of the Lord, because the truth is the only thing that's relevant. All right? Anything outside of the truth is vain babblings. Okay? So, yes, we can get our daily bread, because even as a plumber, you have to know the language. Even as any type of technician, you have to know the language. Even as a bus driver, you have to know the language. You have to know the road signs. You know, even when you're a regular driver, you have to know the language. But it's all vain babbling according to the scripture, according to the word, man. Okay, we get our daily bread. Not saying that if you are not saying if you are a what you call people that work on Wall Street, they're not a stock market. Not saying if you are I used to know what they were called. Give me 1 second. Not saying if you are a stockbroker that's against the word. It's when you put that love that you have for trading and doing all type of stuff above the word, the truth. It's when it's an issue. Not saying if you're a plumber, you know, that you ain't gonna make it. But if you put your art, your trade before this truth, guess what? You won't. Because it's all vain babblings, all right? Not saying if you a teacher that you ain't gonna make it. Because if you put the truth before your teaching, guess what? You're gonna make it. For whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. And whosoever shall lose his life for my name's sake shall what? Shall find it. Not saying if you're a professional basketball player, that's a language in itself. You got crossovers, you got double dribbles, all this you have to know. Not saying if you're a professional football player that you ain't gonna make it. But if you put that language before Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, you ain't gonna make it, man. Okay? It's all about prioritizing. Okay? Every other language other than this truth is vain babblings. All right? Falsely so-called science, man, because there's no salvation in that. There's no salvation in knowing how to dribble a basketball. There's no salvation in knowing how to throw a football. There's no salvation in knowing how to fix a plumbing issue. There's no salvation in knowing how to buy and sell on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay? Maybe in this world, there is, but not in the world to come. That's why 2 Ezra 8:1, if I'm not mistaken, says, this world was made for many, but the world to come for few. Matter of fact, let me pull that up and then we'll close out. This is 2 Ezra 8:1. It reads, and he answered me, saying, the Most High have made this world for many. See? So this world is doing what it's designed to do. It's made for many. Because why? It's given to the hands of the wicked. But the world to come for few, right? Only the Israelites are going to be able to rule, and the world to come after this world is done away with. All right? In this world, speaking of Esau, Edom, the end of this world is about to be established, man. Okay? So where are you going to rest your morals on? This world or the world to come? Those of us that are fighting to endure to the end, the elect, we're resting our morals and our faith and our belief in the world to come that's made for few. All right? We're casting our lots. We're putting in our bids, okay? We're bidding, we're putting everything on Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, whether you believe it or not, okay? So 1 Peter 5:8, and then we'll finish up and close out. You know, it's been a pretty good discussion / topic. Lesson. This is 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. He wants you engaged in vain babblings, okay? He wants you engaged in falsely so-called science, all right? so that what? You can err from the faith, okay? Because why? That vain babbling is going to take up most of all your time, okay? You're going to be indoctrinated in that vain babbling. You're going to be, your time is going to be spent perfecting your falsely so-called science, okay? Because there's no real salvation behind it, all right? And that's right where the devil wants you, occupied in his falsely so-called science, all right? So it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, all right? So we're going to end on that note and pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We almost home. Shalom. Peace.